All right. So the day 3 activity, which the paper says is the 8F day 4 classwork, because this is day 4, but it's an activity based on everything that we've done up till now in 8F. Right? We're going to just look at some factoring. So when we have a binomial, all right, 2 things we look at. Okay, one, the obvious thing that would make it very quick is it a difference? See if this pencil is going to work well today. Difference of 2 perfect squares. Is it a difference of 2 perfect squares? Okay, is 2x squared a perfect square? The x squared is 2 a perfect square? Somebody want to tell me?
Yes.
Okay, 2 is a perfect, so the square root of 2 is a whole number?
No.
Oh, no, I hear a no, okay. Yeah, no, 2 is not a perfect square, and also 8's not a perfect square, because if I take the square root of 8, put that in my calculator, it doesn't give me a nice whole number. It gives me like a funky decimal. So this is not a difference of 2 perfect squares. So the only other thing you can look for is the GCF. Okay, what is the GCF for those 2 terms?
2.
2, yeah. They don't both have an x, so the only thing I can divide out or factor out is a 2. So you divide out 2 from 2x squared, and you're just left with the x squared. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so that's it for the GCF. Now the only thing you always have to ask yourself is, can I do more factoring? Is this factorable? Well, it's a binomial, so now I'm going to go back to, is it the difference of 2 perfect squares? X squared is a perfect square. Minus means difference. Is 4 a perfect square? Is 4 a perfect square, folks?
Yes.
It is. It is. Yes, it is. Okay. So that means I can immediately do the difference of perfect squares. Okay. So I take the square root of x squared. I take the square root of 4. Wait, XX, 2, 2. And there's no middle term. So that means they have to cancel, which tells me I got a plus and a minus. And that's it, because I can't factor anything in those parentheses anymore. There's no GCF, and they're not the difference of 2 perfect squares. All right. Questions or discussions on number 1? No? Okay. Then question 2 is kind of similar. It's another binomial. All right. Can you tell me the GCF? Because I'm looking at that 3t cubed. There's no way that's a perfect square. All right.
3 is the greatest common factor.
3. I like the 3.
3t.
3t. Very nice. It's like the Boston Tea Party. Okay. So let's take the 3t out of there. So the 3 divides it by 3 and get 1. And the t cubed divided by t is t squared minus 27t divided by 3t. Okay, well, the t's cancel. 27 divided by 3 is 9. Check to see if you're right. This times this gives you 3t cubed, and this times this gives you minus 27t. So we did the GCF correctly. All right, GCF is done. Now, can we factor t squared minus 9? Is it the difference of 2 perfect squares?
Yes.
Yes. Difference means subtracting. That's a perfect square, and that's a perfect square. So yes, we can absolutely factor t squared minus 9. You know what it is? If you know what it is, shout it out.
Wait,
Is it,
Go ahead.
you can go ahead, Mia.
Girl, no, you got this. You got this.
You got this, girl.
Is it t minus 3 and t plus 3?
We got a winner.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, girl power. All right. And there's no perfect squares in here. There's no GCFs. We're done. Okay. Cool beans. All right. So 1 and 2 is one type of question. Anybody have any discussion about 1 and 2? They give you a binomial. First thing you do is you see if you can factor out a GCF. Not, is it a difference of perfect squares? Okay, one of them is going to be true. And once you've done, if you do a GCF, then you still say, okay, in the parentheses, is there a GCF? Well, if there is, then that means your first GCF wasn't, great enough. It wasn't the greatest common factor. But, either way, you get down until you see a difference of perfect squares and you go a plus b, a minus b, or in this case, it was t plus 3, t minus 3. Okay, number 3. Here we go. Right off the bat, what do we see we want to be taking care of? What do we have to take care of immediately? Just like in the first 2.
Or GCF.
Yeah, always look for GCF. If there's a trinomial, which means there's 3 terms, you can't have the difference of 2 perfect squares because there's 3 things. There's 3 terms. So there's 3 terms. The only thing you can look at is there a GCF? And I definitely see a GCF here. Okay. What is the GCF for this question?
2.
2x.
2x, yes. All of the terms have an x, and all of the terms have a coefficient that has a factor of 2. Very good. So now let's divide each of these 3 terms by 2x. Let's factor the 2x out. What do we get? Factor this first one.
X.
Divide that by 2x.
No, that's not right.
You get x squared.
You do. Keep going.
You get 6 squared.
I like the 6. X squared, and you take an x out.
It would be just 6x.
X, yep. And then the last one.
9x.
9. Yeah, just 9. 18x divided by 2x is 9. Okay, so that's nice. I like that. Okay, so we got another trinomial. We got the GCF out of there. So that means we need to factor this with a product sum. How do I know it's not grouping? Because there's a 1 in front of my x squared. Okay, so I'm going to go straight to product sum. Okay, so this is AC for my product, A times C. My A is 1, my C is 9. Okay, so 1 times 9 is positive 9. My B term is positive 6. That's going to be my sum. I need 2 numbers that multiply to positive 9.
3 and 3.
They add to positive 6. So positive 3 and positive 3. So the sum of plus 3 and plus 3 is plus 6. So I got it. So I get x plus 3, x plus 3. This is a good answer, just not simplified. So instead of saying x plus 3 times itself, I'm just going to say x plus 3 squared. That is fully factored and simplified. Very nice. Okay. Okay. Questions on 3? Okay, I'll give you a minute. Go ahead and try number 4. I'm going to pause the recording. So if you are watching this, just taking notes, go ahead and pause, and I'm going to have it in just a moment.
I can walk you until the product sum, but after that, I got really confused.
Okay, let's see how far we get.
So the first thing I did was I found the greatest common factor,
Yep,
and I got 2x.
2x
And
for the GCF.
Yeah. Oh, it would be just 2. That's why.
Right, there's no x with the 80, right?
I didn't see that last one.
Okay, so that's probably why your product sum was difficult for you. Okay, I like the 2 though. You want to go from there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you would have x squared
Mm-hmm.
plus 6x
Yep.
minus 40.
Yep. Cool. All right, so now we've got the GCF out. And we're going to do product sum. Since this is a 1, that's just going to go straight into the factor. If it weren't, we would do grouping, which we'll do with the next question. Okay, so product sum, my product is 1 times negative 40, my A times C. Here's my A. Here's my C. So I got negative 40. And my sum is the B, which is plus 6. Okay, anybody get the product sum here?
I did.
What'd you get?
I got -4 for the sum. I got -4 plus 10. Is that right?
So negative 4 times positive 10 is negative 40, so the product is good. Negative 4 plus 10 is plus 6, so the sum is good. So we're going to write it just like that. X minus 4, X plus 10. Okay. Does anybody disagree with this? May have extra feedback, questions, comments?
I agree with it.
You agree? Okay.
I agree with it.
So Mia, you had mentioned your question about the product sum. Is this
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, now I know to just always, like, those two numbers, take it from the sum and not the product.
Okay. As long as you got it straight in your head, you're good.
Yep.
Okay. So 1 through 4, we're looking good. Okay. So that was everything from day 1 and 2. And now we've got some grouping method ones for day 3, I believe, here coming up. So once again, we are going to look for a GCF. For these 3 terms, greatest common factor, it looks to me like it's 7. Okay. There is no X with the 21, so it's just 7 for my GCF. Okay. So I divide each of these 3 terms by 7. I get 2x squared plus 1x. I'll put the 1 there just for the heck of it here, minus 3. Okay. So now comes the grouping. Grouping, we're going to use product sum to group. All right, so I'm going to bring my 7 down. And we're going to rewrite this middle term with grouping. Okay. Product sum, 2 times negative 3, which is A times C. We're also going to look at the sum, which is positive 1, plus 1. Okay. Now, what would the product sum be if I want to get a sum of positive 1 and a product of negative 6?
-2 plus 3, or
Negative.
negative times 3.
So minus 2 and a plus 3. Okay, that sound good to everybody, I hope?
Yeah.
Okay, negative 2 times positive 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 plus positive 3 is positive 1. So they're both good. Like it. So because that's a 2, we can't just write x minus 2x plus 3 because x times x doesn't give me 2x squared. We're going to replace. We're going to replace the plus 1x with our product sum here. So that's minus 2x plus 3x. Okay, and you could switch that order on those two terms if you wish. Okay, does not matter. Okay, if we go with this order. Okay, so now we're going to group. So GCF in the first group is what?
2.
2.
2x.
I was going to say the first group is always an x squared and an x, so you're always going to factor an x out of that first group. Okay. Divide the two terms in the first group by 2x and we get x, and we get minus 1. Okay, because minus 2x divided by 2x is minus 1. Great. Now let's look at second group. Plus 3x minus 3. My GCF, remember, I've got to make it so that the parentheses are going to have the same stuff in them. So what is the GCF I'm going to use to make plus 3x look like just x? What do I divide this by to make it
3.
minus 1? Yeah, just positive 3. So I'm going to get plus 3 times x minus 1.
Wait, so how did you know to do the positive and not the negative one?
Well, if I need an x that's positive because of that x, what do I divide this number by? I divide this by something to get positive 3. Well, that means I just got to cancel out, or excuse me, to get the x. Right? I want this positive x here. Okay? So what am I going to divide out? I'm just going to divide the 3. Right? If I divide 3x by negative 3, it becomes negative x, or negative 1x. We don't want a negative 1x. We just want an x. Right? Or you could just say, you know, I'm not even going to look ahead to that. I'm going to get the GCF. I'm going to get the GCF both times. And so the GCF is positive 3 for 3x minus 3. Okay, the GCF for that is 3. Okay. Okay, but the goal of grouping is to get both groups so that they have a common factor in the parentheses. So the 7 keeps coming down, and then you say, what is that common factor in the two parentheses? It's x minus 1. So I factor x minus 1 out of this group, I get 2x. I factor x minus 1 out of this group, I get plus 3. And that's my final answer. Hence the grouping method right there. Woo. You want to try number 6? Why don't you all give number 6 a try? I'm going to press the pause button here. Okay, can you start me off with the GCF?
Is it 10?
Is 10 a factor of this term?
5. It's 5.
5, yeah. Okay. So if I divide all 3 terms by 5 and factor it out, what do I get?
2x
Squared
squared plus 3x
minus.
minus 2.
Perfect. I like it. Okay, so we got the GCF out. So I'm going to do the product sum. So since this is not a 1, our product sum is simply going to make two groups by replacing my plus 3x. Okay, so my product is 2 times -2, so -4. My sum is positive 3. Okay, so I need a pair of numbers, the factors, for -4, whose sum is positive 3. What do we got?
-1 plus 4.
-1 and +4. If I multiply them, I get -4. If I add them, I get positive 3. Cha-ching. So -1 plus 4. So plus 3x, I'm going to replace with -1x plus 4x. Okay, so once I substitute that in for the plus 3x, now I've got 4 terms, and I'm going to make them into 2 groups. All right. So in group number 1, right here. Let's see. Jordan, what is my GCF for these 2 terms in group number 1?
1,
1 for the numbers. What about for the variable?
1x.
1x, sure. I'm just going to write x. I'm going to use the invisible math for the 1. Okay, so I'm going to divide them both by 1x. So 2x squared divided by x is x. Excuse me, 2x. Oh. -1x divided by x is -1. Okay, now for this second group here. Let's see. Brandon, what do we got for GCF for the second group?
2.
Okay, positive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So hopefully it's going to look in the parentheses like this guy. 4x divided by 2 is 2x. -2 divided by 2 is -1. It does look like it. Perfect. Okay, so now we can just write our answer, I hope. Okay, Cadence, what are we going to write?
I honestly have no clue.
Why?
I don't know.
You know? Do we bring the 5 down?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so now here's a plus in the middle of the 2 groups. Is there a GCF in this group and in this group? Do they have something in common?
Yeah, they both have 2x.
2, more than that.
2x minus 1.
Yeah, they both have that set of parentheses. Okay, so if I divide or factor out the 2x minus 1 from that first group, what am I left with? If I take that 2x minus 1 out, what do I get?
X plus 2.
Yeah, I have this x and I have the plus 2. That's it. Done. What do you mean you have no clue? You had a clue. You knew what to do. Okay, folks, questions on this one?
I think the only only step that really stumped me was when I had the 2x squared multiplied by -2 for the product sum to figure out the number I had to get.
So to figure this out here,
Yeah.
so what was difficult? Finding out the -4 and the +3, or coming up with the -1 plus 4?
Just finding the -4 because we had the 2x squared for your A and -2 for the C.
Mm-hmm. But it is AC for the product. It's always A times C. So it's always the first coefficient times that last constant.
I think it was the x squared that stumped me. I always think that I need to include it, but I don't need to include it at all. I kind of just forget about that for right now, right?
Yeah, because what you're doing, I mean, at the end, the x times the x is going to give you your x squared. You know, so yeah, you're just looking at the coefficients. The coefficients are A, B, and C. Yeah, you're not worried about the variables once you get it without the GCF. Right? Okay, number 7. Number 7. Okay, let's see. Gage, do you have a GCF that you can see right here?
I want to say 2.
I want you to say 2. Would you like to say 2?
Yeah,
Then say 2.
it's 2.
2. Good job. Okay. So 2 is a factor of 8 and 18. So 4n squared minus 9. Okay, somebody tell me what to do now. Now we look like we're going back to questions 1 and 2.
They're both perfect squares.
Yeah, very good. This is a perfect square, and this is a perfect square, and that's minus. So if you have a difference of 2 perfect squares, we have a little formula that we can just say, oh, I know how to factor this. So what do we got?
Is it 2n?
Yeah, 2n.
Minus 3?
Yep. Times.
Would it be 2n plus 3?
Oh, that's the teamwork makes the dream work right there, baby. That's good stuff. Yeah. It's not 2n minus 3 times 2n minus 3, so we're not going to write 2n minus 3 with a squared on it. Okay? But it's 2n minus 3 times 2n plus 3, and then don't forget your original GCF of 2. Okay? That's a nice one. I like it. Put a pin in that one. Okay? Number 8. Who sees a GCF on this one?
Is it 2?
Yeah. Okay, divide all these terms by 2. We get 3x squared minus 13x minus 10. Okay, and there's no GCF here, so that 2 must have been right. Okay, now what do we have to do?
Product sum?
Product sum. Now, is it product sum just to write it in, or product sum to group?
To group.
Group, because that is not a 1. Okay, so I'm going to need to substitute something in for minus 13x. So I'm going to take my 2. I'm going to write everything else besides the minus 13x. And now we'll product sum this thing. Okay, so A times C is 3 times negative 10. Sum is negative 13. Okay, so negative 30. Well, we got some different factors for negative 30, because 1 times 30 is 30, and 2 times 15, and 3 times 10, and 6 times 5. But we got to get a sum of negative 13.
Would it be negative 7 plus 5?
Well, 7 times 5 is not 30. Remember, it has to be a product of negative 30. We have to get a product of negative 30.
I want to say like the 3 times 10, but I don't know how I'd get that to positive 13. I could get it to negative 13, but...
So I could get it to negative 13 with a negative and a negative, but what's the problem?
It's a positive.
Yeah, if I multiply them, the product is wrong. So I could get the sum, but I can't get the product. So that tells me it's not 3 and 10. So what is it?
It would be negative 15 plus 2.
Yeah, we need the 2 and the 15. Okay? We need the 2 and the 15. So we're adding those two numbers together, and the bigger one has got to be negative because the 13 is negative. Okay? So I'm going to have plus 2 and minus 15. So plus 2x minus 15x. That replaces my minus 13x. And now that I have 4 terms, I can put them into 2 groups of 2. First group of 2, second group of 2. All right, so let's bring the 2 down. Okay, now what? Once I have 2 groups,
Find the greatest common factor.
I got to do GCF a couple times. Yeah, what's the GCF for group 1?
It would be the 3 and the 15, right?
Group 1, it's these 2 terms. 3x squared plus 2x.
1.
Okay. 1 for the numbers. Yeah, x, 1x. That first group always has an extra x in there. Okay, let me color code this here a little bit. So, okay, so divide x into both of these terms or factor it out, you get 3x plus 2. Okay. What's my GCF in this other group here? Remember, I want to get a positive 3x and a plus 2. So what am I going to divide those terms by?
5.
5.
Okay, 5. So if I divide them by 5, do I get positive 3x and positive 2?
Negative 5.
Negative 5, yeah. So I'm going to pull the minus 5 out. So negative 15x divided by negative 5 is positive 3x. Minus 10 divided by minus 5 is plus 2. And that's exactly what I wanted, so that this and this are the same factor. Because I need to do GCF one more time and I'm done. So what does my answer look like? Don't be shy.
Would it be 3x plus 2 and then 2 minus 5?
3x plus 2. Okay.
X minus 5.
And then there's an x minus 5 for the x and the minus 5. What did we forget?
The 2.
Yeah, we got to bring the 2 down. Yeah. Okay. So we took care of the 3x plus 2s, took care of the x minus 5, we took care of the 2. Done. Okay. Looking good. Questions on this one?
I honestly did it the other way, where instead of doing like a grouping 3x squared plus 2x, I did 3x squared minus
15x. Yeah. That just means that you had the 3x as your GCF.
Yeah.
And then you had your plus 2 as your second GCF.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that means you had your x minus 5 twice. But
Yeah.
you
And then brought it down.
But you got the same answer, right?
Yeah.
Good. Good. Yeah. When you group and you do the substitution here, it doesn't matter what order you do it in, you're going to get the right answer. Okay. Oh, look, lunch count coming up. Good job. Can you see that on your screens too?
Yeah.
Lunch count?
Yeah.
Look at that. Interesting. Maybe I have to stop my share for a second. There. Okay, that's going. Now I can go back. Just a second. I got like 3 minutes. Okay, there we go. All right, so we got, what, 2 left? Okay. All right, so let's, I'm gonna kind of walk through the first one. If you're doing it on your own, that's fine. But I'm going to, just because we don't have a whole lot of time left, I got let's see, well, you have period 4 starting in 7 minutes. I want to make sure we get through this expeditiously. So I'm going to divide 3 out as my GCF. All right, so that's 14x. Let's see, it's 49. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Okay, so 3. All right, now, is this product sum for grouping or just going to put it right in? That's a 1. So there's no grouping if the A is 1, okay? So if A is not 1, we group. If A is 1, we don't have to group, right? That's a nice thing. So A is 1. So I can go straight into my product sum, okay? So 1 times 49 is 49. My sum is negative 14. Well, 49 is either 1 times 49 or 7 times 7. Well, obviously we're going to have to do the 7. So negative 7 times negative 7 is 49, yes. And they add the negative 14, yes. So I got x minus 7, x minus 7. And then because I've got x minus 7 multiplied by itself, I can rewrite that as x minus 7 squared. Okay. Lovely, lovely. Okay. I only have one question for you on 10. Is there a GCF?
Yes.
What is it?
3. No. Never mind.
Never mind?
I think
Wait.
3 is good.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3. Good. Okay. So 8a squared, 10a, 3. Okay. So bring our 3 down. This is not a 1. Okay. So if it's not a 1, we group. Product sum is going to help us group. So I'm going to keep my 8a squared. I'm going to keep my plus 3. But I'm going to find out what my minus 10a is going to become. So product sum, a times c is 24. Sum is minus 10. Okay, 24. 1 times 24, no way. 8 times 3, not for a 10. 2 times 12, yes. So I'm going to go positive 2 times negative 12. Okay. Which if you add them together, I get negative 10. So the sum is correct. So I'm going to replace my minus 10a with plus 2a and minus 12a. Sweet. So I've got groups. Okay. My first group, I have a GCF. What's my GCF on this one?
2.
2.
2a.
2a, yes. Remember that first pair, the first group always has the squared and the single variables. So yeah, 2a times 4a plus 1. And GCF on this one, in order for me to get a positive 4a, I'm going to have to divide by minus 3. So minus 3 times 4a plus 1. Okay, so I've got my 2 sets of parentheses. Yeah, I'll help you in just a second. With 4a plus 1. So now we finish it. 3 times what? What do we got here? Algebra 2. What goes in here, Algebra 2?
4a
plus
plus
1.
1.
I like it. Times
2a minus 3.
Yeah.
times 2a minus 3. Oh, wait, a current? You mean like in a stream?
Like on a map.
Current event? or current event would be like something that's
Mr. Barry, I actually go to my first period class.
yeah, and my fourth period class is flooding in right now. I should have a huge pre-calc group. They have a quiz, so hopefully they show up. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop the share and I'm gonna stop the record.